Hi, my name is Sankey, and today this is another lesson about playing the diatonic harmonica. This lesson is going to be the first in a short series about improving or ways to improve your bends. So I've been running on my video channel over the last few weeks a series about using tongue blocking on the diatonic harmonica, and we're now at the point where we're going to start getting into the low register, and playing in the low register, i.e. the bottom three holes, requires good bends. You've got to bend if you're going to play certain notes down there. So most of you watching this will be familiar with that idea. But how can you improve your bends, whether you're a lip purser or a tongue blocker? And playing the low register tongue blocked puts extra pressure, requires extra skill, I think, to hit those bends accurately. Tongue blocked. So how can you improve and work on them? So that's the idea of this and probably another couple of videos. So the first exercise is very, very simple, but I believe is one of the most powerful and routinely overlooked ways of improving your harmonica playing in general. This is a C harmonica, and we're just basically going to be playing the C major scale. So that's blow 1 to blow 4. Now, I'm going to go through why you should practice that. A lot of you out there will know how to do that. So it sounds like this. But you probably don't practice that. And initially I can understand why. A lot of you out there probably don't have that much time to practice, whether it's family or work pressures. You probably only got 15 or 20 minutes to practice, and maybe that's once a week, twice a week, or less. Or maybe if you've got a bit more time, doing scales or practicing this particular scale is not something you're going to be gravitate to, because it doesn't sound bluesy. And if you don't have much time to practice, it's perfectly understandable when you come to play the harmonica. You just want to have some fun, you want to play along with a backing track, and you want to play blues and roots and stuff that you're into, things that you're excited about. This doesn't sound exciting. It doesn't sound connected to the blues. It doesn't sound connected to the things that Sonny Boy Williamson would do or Kim Wilson does, etc. So it's not something you probably practice. But I'm here to say that it's absolutely critical that you do, and if you do invest some time practicing it, it's going to transform your playing. And hopefully in the course of this video, I will make that point and get that across to you. So let's just cover the notes very quickly. And as we go through it, I'm going to stop and pause on the two bends, which are in this exercise, to explain how and why they're important and to give them some context. So basically it's blow 4, draw 3, no bend, draw 3, full step bend, so that's 2 semitones, a tone bend, draw 2, no bend, draw 2, full step bend, blow 2, no bend, draw 1, no bend, blow 1. Now that's something you should practice tongue blocked, and when you're practicing it tongue blocked, most people will have a dominant side. So for instance, I block notes to my right, so the air is going down this side and I'm blocking to this side. That's my dominant side. So once you've built up a dominant side, it's also a good idea if you're an advanced player to practice on your weaker side, okay? So my dominant side is here. And then, but I can play with the other side. Not quite as good. And also practice at lip purse. So practice it with those different techniques. Now, let's look at the draw 3 whole step bend, which is the third note that we come across in this particular scale. That note. Now, the wonderful thing about music, Western music, is comprised of 12 notes. And all Western music is generated from those notes. That's just amazing to me. Classical music, jazz, Latin, blues, all stem from those 12 notes. Now, in the context here, notes, the same note in one key does something else in a different key. So if we look at that draw 3, whole step bend, here it's the 6th. It's the 6th note in the scale. But if we were to move to 3rd position, if we were to change key on a C harmonica to D, that same note, the 6th, suddenly becomes the 5th, which is a note that we use in the blues a lot. So practicing this in the 1st position major scale actually has loads of benefits, and this is the first example of one. So if you want to play the 5th in 3rd position, you're going to have to be able to hit this full step bend on the draw 3. So a good way of practicing this is this particular exercise. But then, if you're going to get bored, to do the draw 3, whole step bend, blow 4, draw 4, and you'll be in 3rd position. That first note is the same. Okay? That same note again is used by Sonny Boy Williamson a lot in cross position, Sonny Boy Williamson II, on his turnarounds on the 5 chord. So that same note is the 2nd note in cross position, and over the 5 chord it sounds really cool. So he will be doing things like it's that same note. So that draw 3 whole step bend that you're practicing in 1st position, which can seem unrelated to the blues, suddenly becomes very useful when we change key. So practicing will do wonders to your blues playing, even though it doesn't sound bluesy. Let's carry on down the scale and let's have a look at that draw 2 whole step bend. So that will be familiar to intermediate and advanced players. You will use that draw 2 bend all over the place in cross position. Beginners will be less familiar with it, but practicing that draw 2 whole step bend, hitting it accurately and hitting it like a note rather than a bent note, a note which lives and exists in its own right, which you can control, is really, really important, and doing this scale is a great way of doing that. So another example of showing you how you would use that same note, that draw 2 whole step bend in a blues, would be to go from draw 1, draw 2 whole step bend, the note in question, up to draw 2. And this is a phrase in cross position. And this is something you can practice tongue blocked and lip pursed. So that, things like that. Is very, very bluesy, but it stems, the ability to do that will stem from practicing things like this. So those 2 notes, that draw 3 whole step bend and that draw 2 whole step bend, are useful notes in the blues in 3rd position and cross position, also in 1st position actually, that draw 2 especially. So 1st position major scale will help your blues playing big time. Now when you're practicing, here's a couple of notes about practicing the scale. First thing is, if you're a beginner or an intermediate player and you're just starting to bend, or you've got some bends down, the common things where intermediate and beginners struggle is that when they go for a bend, either A, it's not pitched correctly, and or you hit the bend but you can't hold it. It kind of bounces straight up, or you can kind of hold it. Now practicing this, whether it's tongue blocked or lip pursed, this scale will help you overcome that, because you'll get better and better at your bends through repetition. Now when you're hitting one of these bent notes, if it's wrong, if you hear that you've bent it too far or not enough, the key thing, my advice to you, is to keep breathing, don't stop, and try and adjust the pitch of the note so that you hear that it's correct, okay? So if you go and you can hear it's gone too far, don't just stop and try again. Try and adjust the note to get the pitch correctly. Until you hit it in the right place. Same on the draw 2. And a quick way you can check that is playing it in the upper octave. So the first 3 notes, sorry, in the middle octave. So the first 3 notes in this scale, in the low octave, blow 4, draw 3, no bend, draw 3, whole step bend, are the same as going blow 7, draw 6. So you can cross-reference it there. And obviously you can use a tuner as well. So keep holding the note and adjust the pitch. The other thing is to practice on different harmonicas. Now this is something which catches a lot of people out, and especially if you don't have much time to practice. Playing an F harmonica is very, very different physically to playing a G harmonica. The way that the reeds behave, they all have different characters. So if you are used to playing on high harmonicas and you don't ever practice on low harmonicas, you're going to struggle when it comes to bending, and vice versa. So it's really good to practice this scale on different harmonicas. So for instance, I've got an A harmonica here. The physicality of that is completely different, even though the notes are in the same place and we're still bending. It's completely different to doing it on a C, for example. So don't always play the same harmonica or the same key, because if you do that on an E harmonica, it's completely different to doing it on an A or a G or a high G. So practice on different harmonicas regularly so you don't get locked in, make that mistake. The other thing I should say is also practice the low register with the middle register. So the harmonica is one of these instruments, maybe it's the only instrument, I'm not sure, but where each octave is laid out differently on the diatonic one, chromatics uniform. So that's to say, with a piano or the guitar, once you've learned the layout of one octave, you lift and shift it into the next octave. But on the diatonic harmonica, the low register is laid out differently to the middle register and to the high register. And that means when you move up and down the harmonica, you're mentally having to switch to different layouts, which is very, very tricky. So again, practicing scales is a great way of building your understanding of where the notes are and to be able to make these transitions up and down the harmonica, as I've talked about before. So going from blow 7 down to blow 1, first position major scale, and back up, is a very, very important thing. Go slow, build up your confidence, don't try and play it fast before you're ready. And you know, if you're just starting out, it's important to hold those notes for a long time, you know. Etc. So, you know, hold those notes, own the notes, especially on the bends. Don't let it waver. Try and hit the pitch exactly right. Play it on different harps and try and practice the middle and lower octave together. And as I said, if you've got 20 minutes, 15 minutes of practice, if you take 5 of those minutes and don't jam along to Little Walter and the Howling Wolf or just noodle around and actually play this scale, you will transform your playing, because the bends and moving across those 2 octaves will really make such a difference to your blues playing. And the other thing is to practice it tongue blocked, if you want to learn tongue blocking, and lip pursing. And as I said, if you are an advanced player, it's good to practice with the right and left side of your tongue for these scales. So I hope you found that useful. I promise it will make a huge difference to your playing, and as we move in other video series to other more complex tunes, doing this type of practice and getting these techniques down will enable you to play those tunes. And it's not something that you just practice and then don't go back to. This is something that should be part of your practice routine forever. So I hope that's useful, and I'll be uploading some more information soon. Thank you.